Yes, it is. Hey, y'all. It's me, Shell360. I have a glass in my hand, so I couldn't clap. Let me start it. Hey, it's me, Shell360.
Don't recall that alcohol. Never drink the alcohol.
Okay. I'm in my PJs. I look a fucking mess.
No, you don't.
I do. I have my hair all knotted up because the snow has been in my hair all day, and so my hair is just it's in terrible condition. So that's the reason why I had my hair knotted up before. Hey Tony. Hey Janani. Uh, I needed to talk to y'all because this weekend I began a rabbit hole, and I am ashamed of myself. But
Of Thai boys love.
You know, I didn't ask you to be a part of this particular conversation. I can never have nothing. Hello. So yes, this weekend I decided I was gonna watch a Thai's Boy Love series. So let's chat.
A Thai
So-
boy love series?
That's what it is. It's a series. TV
A
series.
Thai boys love series?
Well, that's what it is.
But you said a Thai's boy love series.
Will you shut up? Will you shut up? Will you do what you were doing earlier? Learn the lyrics to Bésame. Bésame, bésame mucho, como si fuera esta noche la última vez.
She listened to the Canadian version.
You shut up. This is the reason why I film after you go to bed, because you ruin everything. Never have kids, folks. Never have kids. Sorry. I apologize. It's where I'm at. Where I'm at right now, it is not even 8 o'clock at night yet. So I'm sorry. I don't mean to film like really in a really bad time. So let me start over where I was supposed to be before Rudy McRuderson got in the way. Anywhoots. Rosario, who's here on YouTube, her YouTube handle is Remain in the Sky. And for those of you who don't know her, you should know her tangentially if you pay attention to the K-pop unboxing community, because she invented the most well-known tag in all of the K-pop unboxing community, and that is the year-end K-pop tag. So every year, huge unboxers do the, best album, mini album, best rookies, girl group, male group, all that stuff. That is Rosario. Hey, Jason. And so Rosario, I've known for a long, long time. Like, I've known her almost since I started on YouTube. And because of that, I follow her on Twitter. I follow her on Instagram. And she has been posting like crazy about a Thai boys love actor whose name is Saint Supapong. I hope I'm saying it right. The Thai names are so difficult for me, so if I say stuff wrong, I am not doing it intentionally. Anyway, she has been posting a lot of content about Saint Supapong on her Twitter feed. And at first, I really didn't pay much attention to it because I don't pay attention to a lot of stuff on my Twitter feed because it gets pretty heavy. And so I tend to tune out a lot of things. After the rant that I had last week about stuff on my Twitter feed, I think you know why I tune out a lot of stuff. But I kept seeing this guy's picture, and I kept reading her tweets over and over and over and over. So I just want to know, who the hell is this guy? Why does she keep tweeting about him? So I look up his name, and they're like, oh, he's an actor in a Thai boys love series, and he's got a new series coming up called Why Are You? And he's got this new ship that he's involved in. And a lot of the stuff felt very familiar because I'm a person who reads fan fiction, particularly yaoi fan fiction. And so, boys with boys, like, I'm used to that kind of content. It's not new to me. But I did not really know too much about boys love television shows and movies, because to be honest with you, and my daughter can attest to this, I don't watch television. I barely watch movies. I watch mostly YouTube. I mostly listen to music, and I mostly read. So that's the reason why I had never really discussed or been exposed to any of this content because it's really outside of my regular activities as a person. So once I saw that he was involved with this series, something came up on my timeline when I was looking him up, and someone's like, take this quiz to see what kind of boys love series best fits you. So I take the quiz, and some of the answers I'm like, okay, some of them I'm like, not so much. By the time I get to the end of the quiz, they say that the best boys love series to fit my particular point of view, whatever, is a series called Love by Chance. And it just happens to be that Saint Supapong is in this series. So I'm like, okay, great, because then I'll get to know more about him as an actor. I'll learn what the whole buzz is over Thai boys love television shows, why the fandoms are so humongous, and I'll have some fun, because the series is all on YouTube, by the way. For anybody who's wanting, the series is called Love by Chance, 3 words, and the entire series run is here on YouTube. So I start watching, and initially I'm like, wow, the acting here is horrible. And I'm not saying that as somebody who is, acting class 101, well versed in Shakespearean methodology and whatnot. That's not me. I do my fair share of acting here on my channel as I reenact some of these stories that I have to tell, but other than that, I'm not any kind of acting aficionado. But fucking horrible acting. Fucking horrible acting. But the story is a little bit interesting. So I keep watching, and I keep watching. And then things start to get spicy. And I'm just like, hold up, wait, what the hell am I watching? I did like a total Nate Dogg. And yeah, man, yeah. So I keep watching. And again, wow, man, wow. So by the time I get through the entire series, I'm like, I think I may have found a new interest. And so now I'm in it. Now I'm in it to win it. I have caught up on Tharn Type, and I am currently watching Two Moons, and I'm having this discussion with you because I need to know more. I have so many questions, and the only people I could ask were Alex and Mason. So I was like, okay, I have these questions. Help me understand. I need to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about the questions I have because some of you may be able to give me some information that will help me out. So yes, I am looking for recommendation, and Sodas is one of the recommendations I got. Another one is a series called History, and another one that's a lot older called The Love of Siam. So I'll be watching those. Don't know when, don't know why. But let me tell you. So as I'm watching Love by Chance, there are a lot of things that stick out in my mind as these are follow-up questions for later. So I wanted to talk about them because I only have little bits and pieces of information that I can really work off of here. I need to know more in order to fully round out what I'm actually seeing. So for those of you who don't know what boys love is, basically it's love between boys. Like it's that gay shit, But I say that in the most respectful way possible. I don't mean like ew yuck. I mean like ooh yeah. So it takes place mostly between guys in their late teens to early 20s. At least what I've seen so far, it's been all college students, which makes it a little bit uncomfortable, I'll be honest, because I'm a super grown woman. And when I looked up the ages of some of these actors, some of these guys were like 17 and 16 when they were filming this stuff. And yeah, I'm not particularly comfortable with some of that information because some of the stuff they have them doing is not for 16 and 17-year-olds to be doing. Particularly in Love by Chance, because that's the only series I've finished thus far. I marathon that shit, by the way, too. Could not stop watching. The kid who plays A, his name is Perth, and he was 17 when they made that series. He just turned 18 this year, and that series was last year. So he was like 16, 17 doing the series, and there was a lot of like face kissing and neck kissing, and chest kissing. So I was kind of like, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. I was waiting for the feds to come get me. But I wanted to ask, for those of you who watch Boys Love, is it very typical for them to have a lot of like, and I'm talking about the shows, not the manga and the novels, because a lot of it is based on novels. A lot of these things are novels turned into shows and movies. Is it typical for them to use literal boys for this stuff? Are the actors normally in their early 20s? Are, I mean, at the very minimum, like 19? Or do they normally use like real teenage boys to do this? Because that is something I could see being a problem for me later on down the road, is if they keep using like these super young boys, because I only have a few rules when it comes to my enjoyment of salacious things, and that's it has to be consenting adults. And personally, I can't really call a teenager a consenting adult because they're not an adult. Even if their country of origin says you are an adult here, in my heart of hearts, no, you're not child, and I don't want to see children making out. That's just, it's uncomfortable to me. I'm sorry. So I had questions about that, about how, what is the median age range of some of this stuff, because like I said, some of it is pretty tough. Another thing that I wanted to have open discussion about, and where okay, so I am familiar with yaoi. I mentioned it just now, so I'm familiar with it. And yaoi, a lot of the stuff like Junjo Romantica and other stories, they portray a very aggressive form of sexuality. And for those with the Western trained eye, it looks a lot like sexual assault and rape, to be honest with you, because it's a lot of like pushing people against walls, somebody telling you no, but you proceed anyway, and somebody crying to stop and you continue going. But it's never written in a way to make it seem like this was unwelcome or unwanted. Like after it's over, you don't ever hear the person who is the one being waylaid against saying, you took advantage of me, or I didn't want that, or leave me alone, or you've hurt me. It's never like that. It's more like, you keep convincing me to do things I don't want to do. And the first few times I ran into it, I was completely upset. I was like, I don't like this shit. This is really bad. I think that it's awful, and I don't want to see any of this. But then I kept noticing it happening. And as it was explained to me, it was explained that because it's of a fantasy nature, it's not perceived as sexual assault, it's perceived as romantic aggression, which I'm still kind of on the fence on that. I still think that the shit looks mad rapey, but
It is.
yeah, I still think it looks mad rapey, but at the same time, I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that happens in fantasy that wouldn't happen in real life. So maybe I just need to get over it, quit being so PC. But it has taken a lot for me to get over a lot of those elements when it comes to fan fiction and relationship creations, basically. So that's something that when I was watching Love by Chance came up in a storyline, and I really, really hated it. Like, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody if you're planning on watching the show, but there's two relationships in the show that I find icky. One having to do with a relationship between people of a close relation, and the other having to do with a person who, in my opinion, was non-consensual in a sex act. In my opinion. In my opinion. But that's one of the things that I would like you to enlighten me on. Like, what is the justification behind that? You didn't miss much. What is the justification behind that? Why is that so much of an element of so many things? Why is it so much like, I need to hold you down, I need to pin you down, I need to dominate you in order for us to have relations? So that was one of the things that I wanted to hear more about. So Ian Fleming says, in Thailand, yes, because that's what the audience wants. They want those young boys. Some are 27, 28, though. Look outside of Thailand, it's more age appropriate. Japan, Boys Love has grown men. Taiwan has adults. So I'll probably have to look at Taiwan and Japan because, like, seriously, Taiwan and Japan, because Thailand, those kids are really young, really, really young, and it is very uncomfortable to me as a grown up. So that was one of the things, is like the young actors, the sexual aggression. These are things that I don't like. Things that I like and I'd love to know more about. Because I started off on a negative because I want to end on a positive because I want to end this chat happy. So thing that I really like is, at least when I was watching Love by Chance, and when I was watching Tharn Type, and as I'm currently watching Two Moons, the first series, I notice a lot of people in these environments who are on various spectrums of the LBT community stage. So
Did
they're
you say LBT?
LGBT, LGBT, BLT, LGBT.
BLT.
Bacon, lettuce, tomato. So I noticed a lot of people on the spectrum. So I noticed that there's, of course, the gay couples, men with men, boys with boys. But there's also a lot of transgendered people, a lot of non-binary people. And I found that to be very interesting, because I guess I'm so used to American media where those people are treated as the plot line or some special scenario within a story instead of just people in the environment. And especially with Two Moons, there were so many people who you can tell were, I guess, what people would call ladyboys. But then there was one character who presented very masculine, but said, I am a woman. And so it wasn't treated like, oh, you're weird or you're strange or you're different. It was just like, oh yeah, you're one of the girls. And several characters who, like I said, present as masculine but identify themselves as female. And I would like to know more about Thai culture and kind of how that's handled, because I've known about ladyboys for years. I mean, a long time. I've known about ladyboys as long as I've known about drag queens, basically. And that's been since the 90s. So I'm not new to the concept of a ladyboy, but I don't know much about the history of ladyboys. I don't know much about the history of gender specificity in Thailand. And I would like to know more about kind of how are people in Thailand viewed, like, would a man in a relationship with a ladyboy or just someone who says I identify as female, is their relationship treated the same as a relationship between a cis-het man and a cis-het woman? So that was one of the things that I would really like to know more about, because some storylines make it seem like, the gay thing could be a liability or something that somebody has to accept about themselves. Whereas other storylines, like I'm watching Two Moons right now, is treated as, men will go for either women or men, considering, whatever's out there, as long as you're cute, I like you. And so I really would like to know more about, like, how are these relationships really viewed within the context of Thai society, especially because with Love by Chance, there were a lot of issues in terms of being able to broadcast a show on air because of its depiction of homosexual relationships, and especially because of the graphic sexual nature of the homosexual relationships. So if the television broadcasting stations have concerns about portraying this kind of sexuality graphically, but it is considered perhaps an accepted form of a relationship, what does that really mean in their society? Like, I'm so interested in this. Like, I feel like I want to watch a documentary about it. So that was one of the things that I really wanted to know about. Healing Vision, I know you watched Love by Chance because I was watching the episodes and I saw you leave a comment on one of the videos and I wanted to say something to you, but I didn't because that would have been rude. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I'd like to know more about, how people in Thailand feel about relationships and what's accepted in terms of gender and just all these things, especially because of the term boys love. And the reason that in particular is a question I have is because what I've heard about boys love is part of the reason why they identify it specifically as boys love is because it's thought to be something that boys engage in when they're younger and then they grow out of it. In fact, I was watching Fahrenheit, and in episode 4, which is the latest episode of Fahrenheit, one of the characters says, I went to an only boys school, and it was expected that the boys would have sex with each other because there are no girls available. And to me, that was really shocking because, I mean, I read fan fiction, and we've all read about, boarding schools and what goes on in a boarding school, but it's never been like, oh, everybody talked about it and everybody did it, and it was just a really accepted thing. It was more like people don't say anything about it, but needs must, Whereas the way that this one character was saying it, he's like, there was a senior at my school that asked me if I wanted to do it, and I did it. And it was just one of those things where people would freely ask each other, do you want to be involved in these kind of relationships? And so that's why I would like to know more about, is it so accepted because these characters are so young? Is that the reason why they have so many teenagers doing these storylines? Because it latches on to the whole theory of this is something that boys do because they will grow out of it and have relationships with women when they get older, And is there a stigma if you are the recipient rather than the provider? You know what I mean? Pitchers versus catchers. Do you have a stigma if you are the one playing the receptive role? That's something else I'd like some more information about. So, I mean, I'm approaching this in as academic a way as I can because I don't want to make you guys uncomfortable. But I just want to make sure I talked about that. So, Danini says that it is portrayed like that in Yuri works too, like it's a phase. And Ian Fleming says, Love by Chance was a whole mess. The head of the channel, who was LGBT friendly, then he left. The show got delayed and had to find a different network to air on. And then Healing Vision says, isn't Thailand one of the few Asian countries that are more pro-LGBT than usual? That's what I've heard. I mean, like I said, I've known about ladyboys forever, so... But I have so many things floating through my head right now. I'm having a hard time pinching them all down to form a coherent thread here. So, in America, before colonizers came, native tribes often had third sexes. So they had male, female, and then third sex. And third sex would be, a man who wanted to live life as a woman. And they could engage in marriages or partnerships, and they were accepted people in their communities. It was acknowledged that they were who they were. But these are non-Christian societies or pre-Christian societies, I guess you would say. And so things like, it says in the Bible, that wasn't an issue because it didn't exist for them. It was a lot of religion based around the environment and nature and that kind of spirituality. So, I mean, my grandparents lived in reservation cities. And so I've always heard about third sex and things like that because I've always heard a lot about, Native American societies and kind of how they had a much different structure than Western societies. And then with Thailand in particular, part of the whole ladyboy thing is that they have a different societal structure in terms of the way that people identify themselves. So I've always known that there was something a little bit different going on in Thailand, but I don't know how that still exists today because again, these are things that happened before the introduction of widestream Christianity pushes and missionaries, before the technology age, before globalization, and a lot of native traditions, they don't get passed on in this new global world because these countries don't want to seem foreign when they're trying to do business with other people, if you know what I mean. So that's the reason why I have so many questions about gender relationships and kind of what's accepted and what's not accepted and the history of that acceptance, because a lot of things happened before westernization happened. So that was one of the things that I have questions about. Another thing that I have big questions about, besides just, transgender, being accepted as male or female, that kind of thing, was when you're talking about a relationship between two men in a country like Thailand. I noticed a lot of people referring to it as husband and wife. Like there's boyfriends, people call each other boyfriends specifically, but then there were other times where people called each other husband and wife. And in America, when people are not married, they'll say, "Oh, that's my wifey," or "That's bae." Like they have these nicknames that really don't mean anything. If you call somebody wifey, unless they're actually married, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the wife, obviously. But there's implied that there's this very close relationship that is more serious, maybe, than we just started dating boyfriends and girlfriends. So, I mean, I'm interested to know how far these relationships can go. If you go past the stage of being a teenager, a college student, and you still are two men wanting to live together, wanting to be together, how does that impact you being able to live your life? Is this person your recorded spouse? Are they entitled to benefits? What about, the passage of property in the event of death, or being able to make decisions for you when it comes to, hospital care and things like that? And also, there's different religious structures in Thailand too. I believe that Thailand, Buddhism is really big, and I think there may be a few other religions. People go to temples, consult with monks a lot, and so how does that fit into their religious structures in Thailand? So that's something I have big questions about. Another thing I have big questions about, just because of the whole Saint Supapong thing, is these actors. So when I was reading a little bit more about Boys Love, it seemed like one of the things that is kind of a not afterthought, but like an after effect of these series, is that when actors get really popular in a Boys Love series, they're expected to hold fan meets, go on tours, meet and greets, all this stuff. And one thing I love about the way that they do their fan meets in Thailand is that they clearly spell out what the hell they're there for. The advertisements say certain prizes to the biggest spenders, and they spell it out like, whoever spends the most money at this fan meet, you're going to get something special. So ladies, bring your pocketbooks. Fellas, open your wallets. We are here to take your money. And I love the fact that they are so blatant about the consumerism of it. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't make it seem like we just want to have a chance to give back to the fans for all the love and support that they give us. No, ho. We're here for your money. Run those pockets. We want it. And I love it. I love it. And if you don't believe me, go to the Instagram pages of some of these actors. Go to their Instagram pages, and they always advertise when they're having a fan meet every fucking time. Top tier for the biggest spenders. This bottom tier for the rest of y'all hoes. But if you got real money to burn, daddy's got something special for you. And I love it. 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 I think it's wonderful. And from what I've seen, their fan meets are very much like American fan meets. Or not American, I should say Korean fan meets. If you've ever seen a fan meet of a Korean actor, not a singer, an actor, a Korean actor's fan meet always is like Q&A, games, interview, VCRs, and then some kind of singing or dancing performance. It's always that way. Never any different. And then there'll be signing time where they'll have a table and they'll sign autographs and they'll take photographs and high fives, handshakes, stuff like that. Same thing with Thai Boys Love, except the big difference is they don't do individual fan meets. They do couple fan meets. So let's say that Edmund and William are in a show together. Actually, you know what? Those are terrible names. Let me give you some Thai boys love names so that we can make this feel more realistic. Okay, so CD and Microphone are having a fan meet because they were in a show together. So it's
Microphone.
There's a boy named Yacht in fucking Boy Love by Chance. There's a guy named
Like yacht?
It's spelled like Yacht. There's a boy named Yacht. They have a character whose name is Techno. There's a guy in the other series whose name is Bass, Bass. Another guy whose name is literally God, God. So yeah, Microphone and CD. Microphone and CD are in a show together, and they have great chemistry. Everybody loves them. They're so wonderful. So Microphone and CD decide they're going to do a fan meet. At the fan meet, Microphone makes sure to hug CD all the time. Microphone is going to be kissing CD on the cheek, and
Oh, no.
they're going to be,
See,
you know,
that's where I
doing
feel
high
like,
fives and pinching each other's cheeks and, you know,
I'm the
doing
actor,
dances
not
together
the
and
character.
holding hands and looking in each other's eyes. And all the fans in the audience are going to be like, oh my gosh, Microphone and CD are real. I always knew that music was the ultimate OTP. So, yeah, this is what they do. And I find it stunning. Oh my gosh, I've never seen such a thing. It's stunning to me. I mean, I'm used to fan service from K-pop. I'm absolutely used to fan service for K-pop. You know, how much have we seen, you know, fucking Internet Wars with SHINee, where Jonghyun is shirtless and Taemin is doing this number down a shirtless Jonghyun. We've seen fan service before.
Yes, we have.
But I've never seen the kind of fan service where they're like, we want you guys to believe that the chemistry you saw in the television show is real chemistry between us. And it's even weirder to me because a lot of these guys in these shows will be like, yeah, and I have a girlfriend. They'll totally be like that. Like, it's like, yes, we were a couple in the show. Yes, we love each other a lot in real life. But also, don't get it twisted, I fuck bitches. It is so random to me. Like, my mind is out here. Like, I feel like maybe that's related to the fact that they're saying, like, this is something that kids do, boys do, this is fun, but, you know, we have an obligation once we're men to have standard cishet women wives. But it is so weird. It is the weirdest thing. And then, like, the Love by Chance series must have been one of the most popular series because 4 of the guys from that series formed a band and went on tour. So Gun, Perth, Title, and Plan all went on tour as a group called Tempt. Before I started watching Love by Chance, I never thought that these would be the names of people. Title, Gun, Plan. No, I would have never thought. But, I mean, even if they're in the same company, like, it is just, like, the things that they're doing to, like, keep this going, keep the engagement and everything else, I've never seen such a thing. It is wild to me. Let's talk about the names. We have to talk about the names. Someone has got to tell me more about the names. I need you to tell me more about the names. So, I'm about to sound like a whole ass colonizer here because I was trying to read some of these names to Stephanie, and I'm like, Kira Korna Fongathon. I mean, like, the names have a minimum of 10 characters for last names. Our first name, I don't know, because I don't know if they read like Korea where your family name is first and then your first name is last. I'm not sure about that because I'm new here. But because the names are so long and they want to be able to have like snappy slogans and snappy hashtags, and they want people who aren't familiar with Thai names to be able to say them, everybody uses a nickname. So when I was watching the credit roll for Love by Chance, and they would like put the nickname in big letters and then put the actual name underneath. I was like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. These cannot be people's names. Earth, Yacht, Title, Gun, Plan, Saint, Perth,
Beans.
There was only one dude
potatoes,
with a nickname.
Tomatoes.
Those could be names. There could be a potato and tomato. There was like only one dude who had a nickname that I'm like, okay, Mark. Got it. Mark. But everybody else, it was just like, what are these names? It was like that scene out of The Usual Suspects where he was like trying to make up a story and he was just looking at things around the room and using those as elements of his story. So it's like candle, plant, blinds, ceiling, carpet, fan. I mean, it was so hard. It was so hard. And so like I get it because the alternative was like several syllables long and hard to read, but I was just like, where does this come from? Where does this come from? And then you turn around and the character, okay, these are people's real names, by the way. So Perth is the name that he goes by professionally, but his character name is A. A is not that bad to me. I was like, okay. And then Pete wasn't bad to me either. But then there's this shit called Tin Can. Because one character's name is Tin and the other character's name is Can. And Can is short, shit you not, for cantaloupe. Shit you not.
Cantaloupe.
Can is short for cantaloupe. And his ship with the guy that he's with on the show is Tin Can. What? Then there's a villain whose name is Trump, which I agree with, but still. There's a couple named Tar and Tum. There are two brothers named Techno and Technique. Like, what? What?
No, Nick.
And Trump is a total villain, by the way, too. You'll hate him in the series as well. He's
for
awful.
a second I'm like, we already know, because in real life...
I'm just saying, in the series, Trump is an asshole. But, yeah, I mean, it is wow. It is wowzy, wow. Then I'm watching Farm Type, and one of the guys, his name is Type. And then I'm also watching Two Moons, and one of the guys on there, his name is Kit, and everybody calls him Kit Kat. So it's just like,
yes.
What?
I actually think Kit Kat is cute.
There's a guy named Kit, and there's a guy named Beam. Beam, like laser beam, Beam. And a guy named Forth. 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 These names. I need to know more about these names. I need to know why it is that everybody got these nicknames. How do you get your nickname? Like, I need to know the selection process. I need to know how it is that somebody determines what your nickname is, because I have so many questions. How did two people on the cast of Love by Chance have the nickname Earth? There wasn't just one Earth, there were two Earths on the cast.
For the beauty of the earth.
I don't know. Which is why when y'all were laughing about microphone and CD, that shit's gonna happen one day. There's gonna be a guy on the show named Compact and a guy on the show named Disc. And they're gonna be a couple. CD. Compact Disc. Could be a guy named Micro and a guy named Phone. Microphone.
Peanut butter and jelly.
You know, who knows? Who knows? Door and knob. Who knows? Let me get back to some of these readings here. So, we were talking about names, and Channel 5 says, like, they have legal names and then nicknames. We are supposed to call them by their nickname, which are chosen by their parents. So, like, Bam Bam from Got7, and his bro is Beer because his dad loves alcohol. Ah! Why would you name your child Beer? Why would you do that? And his second brother's name is Bank?
Yep.
What are we doing here? Like, seriously, what are we doing here? First of all, Bam Bam Like, is your dad a fan of the Flintstones? Is that how you got the name Bam Bam? Oh, man. So let's keep going. Healing Vision said that she guesses that she's nicknaming her kid Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. That's not nice. Okay, let's keep going. The parents really pick whatever they want. Let's see. Shell 5 says it's cultural. We are not supposed to say their actual name. We're not supposed to say their actual name. Okay. I can't remember if there's another besides the legal name, but I know it's like a respect thing. Okay. Now, see, if you don't want me to say your legal name because it's disrespectful, I get that. But what do you do when you have two dudes named Earth? Is it Earth 1 and Earth 2? Or do you say, like, a part of their name so you can distinguish which Earth you're talking about? Like, it's so fucking hard. It is so hard. So, Healing Vision says, it kind of reminds me of certain African countries where parents give their kids biblical names. Oh my gosh, we could talk about African names all day. Because, like, African names are, like, biblical names, but also, like, names for concepts. Like, you'll have a child named Blessing, and then a child named Miracle, and then a child named, like, you know, a Saints tier. And it's not, people always want to talk about names being ghetto. These aren't ghetto names. Like, they give their children names to spell what they hope for them in terms of favor in their life. So you might have somebody whose name is Favor, because their parents want them to have favor in their life. Or someone's name, Comfort. You might know a woman named Comfort because her parents think, when you get married, I want you to be a comfort to your husband and make him feel good, and a comfort to your children. No. You know, or you might have somebody named Plentiful because you want them to always have a plentiful life. So, I mean, name standards around the world are all what they are. And I'm not picking on names to be like, you're dumb. Like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, how do you come up with this name? Because, again, two dudes named Earth. Two of them. So, yeah.
Maybe Earth is a common name.
Bam Bam's grandma was actually the Flintstones fan. No joke. I figured it had to be somebody. Beer, Bank, Bam Bam, and Baby. I would rather be Baby. If I had to pick one of those three, call me Baby. Just call me Baby. Zion T fans, are you in the house? Call me Baby. Na 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 na. Yeah. Sorry, I lost track of time. I feel like the Thai nicknames are similar to that. Like, clearly Bam Bam said hopes for his son to be rich. Okay, so if you call your child Bank because you want them to make bank, that makes sense. You know, but if you call your child, I don't know, I'm trying to think of one of the silly... Oh, if you call your child Kit, do you want them to grow up to be a cat? Like, I don't understand. I would like to know more. So, what's that? No, my brother named my nieces Dream and Honor. There's nothing wrong with Dream and Honor. Like, fucking, isn't Dream the name of one of the Kardashian babies? Like, there's nothing wrong with Dream and Honor. Comfort is actually used in Spanish, consuelo. See? There you go. So, yeah, like, I just found it very interesting. I wanted to know more about the naming process for sure, because I'm just like, what's going on here? What's happening? What I missed? What's going on? What's going on? And then probably the last thing that I have questions about is, like, the school system, because I'm watching school dramas right now, so I really would like to know more about the school system. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Chinese names are chosen for meanings behind the characters, LOL. Every time I think of Kid, I think of Knight Rider. It's definitely interesting and throws all of us off. Literally Knight Rider. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me. I think the shit's fun. Like, don't get me wrong. It's funny when, like, you're starting a new drama and you're not used to the name. And all of a sudden you're just like, what is that person's name again? Like, some of the names sound very traditional. Like, you know, Fa, not Fa, and, you know, Ming, and all these other names. Those are fun names. Tharn. But then you have other names that you're like, what is that? What does that mean? Like, I don't know. Yacht. Come on now. Yacht?
Maybe you want them to own a yacht?
Maybe.
Or that you want them to like yacht rock?
Yacht rock is a great genre. Sailing takes me away from where I've always heard it could be. Actually, it's not even my favorite yacht rock song. My favorite yacht rock song is What a Fool Believes. I love that fucking song. She came from somewhere back in a long ago. Okay. Life should be enjoyed. Have a cool name. You'll get used to it, lol. LOL me when I watched that clip about Band Bros Brothers and Knowing Brothers. Are there any WLW Thai series? I don't know. Are there any Thai series that are girls love? Is it called girls love? That was gonna be my next question. Like in Japan, I wouldn't say the opposite, but like the counterpart to yaoi is yuri. You know, so there's boys with boys and there's girls with girls. But I don't know that counterpart exists for Thailand. And with the relationships that we're seeing in the stories, I haven't seen a relationship between two girls. So I'd like to know more about that, you know, just to kind of figure out what's going on. I know you demand it, but I'm just saying I don't know where it is. Listen, my start in this whole thing was literally Saturday, quite by accident, and I got caught up in some shit, and all of a sudden here I am. And between watching all of Love by Chance, Saturday into Sunday, and then finishing up Tharn Type Sunday into Monday, yeah, I'm really super new to this. I tried to find out as much information as I could, but it is hard to find information out there. It's hard to find sites where the stuff is posted legally. It's hard to find information about, you know, good reviews for shows. My Drama List is really good about giving you good user-fed reviews, but like in terms of professional reviews, not like there is with K-dramas. So that's the reason why it's very hard to get information on like the basic understandings of what you're watching in a boys love show. Like, so I would love to be recommended a video explaining the basics that I need to understand specifically about Thai boys love, because there's so many, like I said, I've gone through this video listing all the things that I just need to know more about. I need to know how we got to this point, what I'm actually seeing, what are some real conflicts, like all of this stuff I need to know more about. So Ian Fleming says, no, because the audience isn't there. The audience for a bi is 90% girls and the gays. And people pointed out their more masculine traits as their defining traits. So, since I've gotten past most of the questions that I wanted to have answered, and people can start leaving comments below for me to, you know, understand what the answers to my questions are. Now I'm going to do my review of Love by Chance, and I'm going to try to be as spoiler free as I can be, because at least one person in the room says they're going to go watch the series after I get off this live. So I watched Love by Chance. I marathoned the majority of it on Saturday and then watched the remainder of it on Sunday. And I can tell you without a doubt, it's got some issues. It is problematic. Like I said, there are two relationships in particular that I spent time thinking, why is this even a storyline? Why is this happening? Why are we being exposed to this? And one of them in particular ended in a way that made me want to throw my phone across the room, because I was so upset by the ending for that relationship. And it's not the tin can relationship. This was the Clawno relationship. I think that's the ship name. I was just like, you have got to be fucking with me right now. No fucking way. No fucking way.
Yes way.
Tartum, I honestly could have done without that whole thing. I spent the majority of the show's run thinking, if we could just get rid of that couple, we could have had more time for literally anybody else. Literally anybody else. I would like to see more of Pond and Cham. Like, those two I would have wanted more for, but... Champon, I guess. Champon. Anyway, I would have done more with them than that. And so, I just Tartum I could do without, so we could have had more Pond, we could have had more, I would even take more Pete and A, even though we got a lot of Pete and A to the point that we were like, okay guys, your storyline's wrapped up, keep going. But things that I liked about the show, I really liked Pete and A, how honest they were about their relationship with each other. Like how they didn't give in to a cliche that a lot of dramas have, where like, oh, because of a silly misunderstanding, all of a sudden the main characters don't like each other anymore. That didn't really happen. Like when they would get upset, they would just say, I am upset. This is why. And they would work it out. You know, there might be like a night where I'm not talking to you because I'm upset, but then I'll talk to somebody else to get their perspective, realize where maybe there was a misunderstanding, and work it out with you. And I really appreciate that as a person who reads a ton of fan fiction. I cannot tell you how pissed off you can get when you read chapter after chapter of a story that literally could be resolved if somebody would pick up the fucking phone. So it was really nice that their relationship seemed to be one where both characters were learning how to be in a relationship. They were very honest about what was going on in their relationship. And by the end of this series, I felt like they were in a very good place. Like if I never saw that couple again, I wouldn't have any unresolved questions for them, because I really felt like they kind of laid it all out on the line. And I appreciated that a lot. Tin Can. I don't know what that ending was. And it's not me hating the ship. I actually enjoyed it. There were some elements of their ship that I was like, I don't know about this. This feels a little bit assaulty to me. But then there were other elements where I'm like, oh, that's really cute. I can see why this wasn't necessarily like taking advantage of the person. It's just like they just don't know what the hell is going on. So it's going to be weird regardless.
Hold the phone.
But
red dress. That could be a ship. One guy's name is Red and the other dress, so they're red dress.
Could be. But their relationship, it ended as if there was going to be a season 2. Like that's the way I'll put it. Their relationship ended at a point where I'm just like, okay, so season 2 is a go, right? Because this is not an ending. This cannot be an ending. This is not an ending. You've got to be fucking with me right now. This is not an ending. So, I mean, I don't know if there'll be a season 2. It sounds like there won't be, because apparently there was a bunch of controversy and a bunch of fights between managers of different actors, and the investor pulled out. And so it's sounding like there won't be a season 2, but I'm not going to write off the idea of a season 2 just yet. Maybe not a season 2 featuring Pete and A, but a season 2 definitely for Tin Can, because they're already doing a prequel to Love by Chance with Tharn Type, which is what I watched over the weekend. And Tharn Type takes place between a character that we never got to see on screen and another character that had kind of a side role in the Tar-Tum relationship. And that character is Type and his boyfriend Tharn. So Tharn Type takes place before the events of Love by Chance, and it basically and it basically it has to do with the relationship origins of Type and Tharn. And I was glad to have that, because Tharn is this character that's mentioned in his relationship to several other people, but we never actually see Tharn. So it was nice to see Tharn, because, again, we've never seen Tharn. But also, how did Tharn and Type get together? And so far, there hasn't been anything super terrible. I take that back. There have been a couple of moments already that I'm kind of like, the fuck is going on here? But for the most part, again, like I said, I understand there's a certain amount of aggression and questionable content in these stories, so I was able to get past it. But outside of a couple of instances, everything else to me has seemed fairly normal and not anything to like raise my hackles too much. This is a much more graphic series than Love by Chance. And Love by Chance, from what I've heard, is fairly graphic in the how far the actors go in showing you what the relationship is, especially between Pete and A. Tharn type feels like it goes even further. Like, to be honest with you, like, there's one character dropping an ice cube in another character's mouth. So,
Oof.
yeah, it's something else.
Ew.
But, I mean, outside of that, I don't know. I'm excited because if Tharn type goes well, then that probably means that the rest of the characters, side characters that we really didn't get much development for, are going to come back. And that's something I'm really excited about. Just a second, real quick. There we go. Gotcha. So yeah, I was really excited about the fact that Tharn type with you. Girl, you have to watch The Pornographer. It's from Japan. It has 2 seasons. Okay, so I don't want it to seem like I'm out here trolling for porn. I just need to put that out there because I don't mind watching the show, but I really do like story. I'm kind of a trope queen when it comes to storyline. I love a good enemies to lovers. I love a good friends to lovers. I love a good rich man, poor man kind of situation. I'm not here for the graphics of the graphics. Like, some of it is kind of cool because it seems like it commits to the fact that, you know, it's not what they're doing when the scene cuts out. Like, they're literally doing this. I don't need to see dicks or butt cracks or anything like that. Like, I'm fine with just, you know, some kissing that spells out that, like, we're not just friends, we are actually dating. But I don't need to, like, you know, see thrusting or any of that stuff in order for me to get what the point is. It's more fun to me, the build up to the relationship. I think that's the reason why when you watch the show, even though Pete and A are so good together, by the end of the show, most people are really invested in the tin can relationship because it was a relationship that was still building. And so when the show ends and you feel like it's kind of left unresolved, you're like, but we were going somewhere. And you're invested in the journey, not necessarily, you know, the bow chicka wow wow, if you know what I mean. So that's the reason why I wanted to kind of know, I kind of want to know more about different series in order to be able to see kind of like, do people spend the time to develop the story, or is it all about like how much kissing can we get into it? Because like I said, I'm not interested in all the kissing and stuff. I really want to see more of like, you know, the storyline parts of it. Because I read fan fiction and I read it for story. I don't read it for, you know, just the, oh, my biases are kissing each other. That's not why. I suggest watching Oh Sans Love. It's a comedy. Oh, that sounds good. I might watch that. So I have to put that on my list of things to watch. I put that other person on timeout, by the way. I know you guys are probably like, it's weird that you're laughing about Did You Eat My Dog? The reason I was laughing so hard is because I find it funny when the trolls get to my lives because I'm not even a big YouTuber. Like, I lose more followers than I make every single month. I'm not a big YouTuber. So like when people find my lives, I'm always surprised because I'm not that person. Like, there are so many people out there who are way bigger and do more than me. Like, how do you find me? How did you get here? I feel like Deborah Cox. How did you get here? Nobody's supposed to be here. Like, that's me. That's how I feel. So that's why it's just like, how did you get here? Like, seriously, how did you get here? But yeah, I think I've talked about everything I can talk about when it comes to Love by Chance and Tharn Type. And Two Moons I'm still watching. I'm almost done with series 1 and then I'll probably watch series 2. The only thing that I really hate about Two Moon is the fact that the characters spend so much time looking at each other. And the character that plays Yo is a really young kid. So I'm glad that there haven't been any like heavy petting scenes because he's really, really young. But he's also not an actor. It's obvious that he's like a kid model that they then decided you could act in this story because you're cute. Because there are so many times when his idea of acting is just Like, I'm not making this up. I cannot tell you how many times in Two Moons the main guy character Fa and the character Yo are just standing there, and Fa will ask Yo a question and Yo will be like, uh-huh, oh, uh-uh, oh, you have class, oh, do well on your class, I'm not sick, is it okay if I sleep in your lap? I don't know. What do you think I should play on piano? Like, the only time I've seen any like real emotion from him is when he's interacting with any character besides the character he's supposed to be romantic with. Like, when he interacts with his friend Ming, he smiles and he laughs, and you could tell they have a friendship, and that's nice. When he interacts with another character named Fourth, who has romantic interest in him but is not meant to be his main person, he is like, at least like, oh yeah, cool, I'll meet you later, thanks for helping me out, you're cool. But when him and the main character get together, it's like he fucking loses all of his senses. He's just, and his mouth literally is hanging open, literally hanging open. So he was tough. The only time he had any real emotion with the main character who he's supposed to be in love with was when he got mad at the main character for asking him if he had any kind of interest in another character. He was like, you should never have asked me that. You just don't understand. And it's just like, I mean, I can tell you've been crying in preparation for this moment, I guess, but like, your anger doesn't even feel like real anger at this point. Like, what is going on? So, I don't know. I'm watching the story in 1.5 speed because I just can't because of all the staring. But I will say this. The guy who plays the love interest, Fa, who's the lead guy, he is fucking gorgeous. He is so good looking. I don't know what he does outside of, I think he's a model. I don't know what else he does, but I hope he has lots of children because he needs to keep that DNA line going. He is so good looking. Really, really nice looking. Really, really nice looking. There's so many good looking kids in these shows. So many good looking kids. And it was weird because as I was watching Love by Chance, I keep talking about it, but that's because literally it's the only series I finished. So, I mean, I'm sorry, you're just going to bear with it. When I was watching Love by Chance, there were so many characters in that show that I'm like, that guy looks like this Korean counterpart. That guy looks like this other Korean counterpart. That guy looks just like this other Korean counterpart. There were so many actors. I'm like, I know who you look like in K-pop land or in K-drama land. And it was very kind of off-putting to me in a couple of different ways. So I'm like, you remind me. I felt like Usher watching the show. You remind me of a guy that I once knew. I see his face whenever I look at you. Like, that was how I felt the whole time. So when I was watching A from the show, he looked to me a lot like Kim Soo-hyun when he smiled. He had a very similar eye smile look. Then when I was watching the guy who played Tin, and y'all are going to hate me when I say this because there's a lot of people who are going to disagree with me. He looked like a heavier, like thicker version of Jaejong from JYJ DBSK. That's what he looked like to me. And then the guy who played Kinkla in the show, he looked like Baekhyun to me. Straight up looked like Baekhyun to me. And I was like, oh wow, that kid looks familiar. And then the kid who plays No's brother, Nick, he looked just like a guy I hate in K-dramas and K-pop. Kim Yeon-jung from SS501, basically the woman beater. He looked a lot like that guy to me. Like, his nose and mouth were very similar. And then Bass, who is in Two Moon looks a lot like Dio. Like if someone would let Dio grow out his hair, they would have a very similar look. So yeah, like I spent a lot of time watching these shows being like, that guy looks like that guy, that guy looks like that guy, that guy looks like that guy, that guy looks like that guy. Lot of overlap. And I wonder how much of that is that there's just a general Asian look, and this is not me being racist, don't take it that way. There's like a general Asian look that's very popular across Asia, and that's the reason why so many people look so similar. Or if it's that a lot of what's going on in K-pop is spreading over the rest of Asia. Because like when Japan was really hitting it, you could see in early K-pop how influenced they were by Japanese style, like hairstyles, clothing styles, or J-pop in particular. That a lot of that J-pop element was in K-pop super heavy in second gen and in first gen. But then as third gen and fourth gen have become really huge, you see a lot of the haircuts and the hairstyling happening across these other places. Like you look at some of the Chinese idols and they have a lot of similar looks to what Korean idols look like. And then I was talking to you about fan meets. Saint, who was in Love by Chance and is now promoting the Why Are You series, he does a dance to Love Shot by EXO at his fan meetings. So like there's a lot of cross pollination here, but I don't know if it's, again, like I said, if Korea is influencing so much more because of their Hallyu Wave, or if this is just like a general style that tends to look really good with people that have specific stereotypically Asian features. So that was a question I meant to put in here as well, like how much of it is them being influenced by K culture, and how much of it is just like, this is already here, this is what's cool, so that's why we're doing it. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting. So it's such a new thing. I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna all of a sudden start reviewing boys love shows on my other channel. I might just do a quick rundown of Love by Chance because I really feel the need to rant on that one. I might do a quick rundown on my other channel. But I definitely am very interested in these shows. I'm interested in what the differences are between the shows. I'm ready to start following actors of age. Definitely if there are certain directors or writers that are known for doing a style, I would love to know more about that, because like in K-dramas, there's certain writers that when they write a story, everybody watches no matter who. And no, I haven't. I know you asked, but my other channel is Shawol 360 Chats, and I have not uploaded anything there in so long. So this may be what happens. That may be where all of these things go. Literally, I've only watched 3 series so far. One of them is ongoing, one of them is completed, and the other one is completed. So no, I'm a baby when it comes to asking the questions that need to be asked. See, that makes me the hella rapey part. I don't like to hear that. I don't like to hear that. I do not like to hear that. So I had a little list in my room that I put all the things that I'm trying to catch up on. So definitely SOTUS, history, The Love of Siam. I have a few other movie recommendations that I wrote down. So definitely have a lot of things I want to check out for sure. But yeah, I'm just getting into it. Like I said, I have questions. I want to know more. I want to be more involved in like the culture surrounding it as well. Cause like that's one of the things that as a K-pop fan has kept me into the fandoms as long as I've been. It wasn't just the music, even though, don't get me wrong, the music is wonderful. By the way, Hoodie's got a new album coming out, and I've already pre-ordered it from Yes Asia. So excited, cannot wait. Anywho's, I'm off topic here. I want to know more about the culture in Thailand. I want to know more about like things that everybody kind of knows are in the background but are new to me right now because I'm not used to it. Like the whole pink milk thing. A big plot point in to Moon is the buying of pink milk. So of course I'm on Google like Thai pink milk recipe. What is in it? Because no one talks about what's in it. Whereas like in Korea, you could say the same thing for like going for samgyeopsal or bulgogi or even dokboki. Dokboki would be a perfect example. Dokboki is one of those things that no one explains to you what it is unless you ask for it. So if you see a show where people are drinking soju and they're going to a dokboki stall, no one's explaining, you know, the dokboki stall has rice cakes smothered in a spicy chili sauce that's often served for, you know, $1. None of that shit is explained. They're just like, do you want to go get something to eat? And then they'll start eating this food. So that's the reason why, like, I want to know more. That way the world is more fleshed out for me. I'm more invested. So Ian says to join the Boys Love Drama Amino. There's so many damn aminos. That's a big thing in other dramas too. Like, it's a childish drink like chocolate milk for kids here in the US, I guess. It reinforces the boy aspect. Well, see, that's the thing. Like, if that's what it's supposed to be, I want to know that. Like, Taemin was teased for years about banana milk. I bet he hasn't touched a banana milk in 5 years because he's so sick of people offering him banana milk and asking him if he wants banana milk. So he probably is like, I don't love banana milk. I actually hate it now. Thank you for asking. And so like things like that, I would like to know more about. Like, I'm now at the point where when I watch shows and they bring up different foods, I don't have the question of what is that. If somebody says, you know, we're going to get gamtang, I know what that is. And I don't have to ask the question of what is it. So that's the reason why I want to know more about it, so that it's all that shit happening in the background, I know what it means in the course of the story. Because right now, I don't know what it means. You know, like there's a scene in Love by Chance where the family goes outside to give food to the monk for a blessing, and they have the youngest member of the household give over the food, but everybody is touching her while she's giving the food because there's this idea of a transference. So basically, by giving the food to the monk, that's doing a positive deed or a good deed. And by touching the person who's doing the good deed, you're allowed to share in their good deed. Something like that is not explained in the course of the show, so I would never know what that means. And so those are the things that I would like to know more about, so that when I see it, I don't have all these questions. But yeah, so we've been talking now for over an hour, and I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me as I kind of lay it all out there on the line. I realize this is not a live for everybody. This is not something that everyone who watches me could really get down with, because I have a lot of people that I'm friends with that do not fuck with the gay stuff, and that's fine. And they don't fuck with it like, ooh, that shit's nasty. Like, that's not their thing at all. It's more like, ooh, I am uncomfortable because it's a form of sexuality that I don't practice, so I don't want that. Like, for instance, I have friends who are gay men. They do not want any part of vaginas and boobs, because that's not for them. So I don't throw it in their face. So if I have somebody who is not interested in, you know, boy on boy love, then of course I'm not going to throw it in their face. So I understand if this chat is not for everybody, but it is something that I thought I could bring here only because, like I said, I noticed people in my circle talking about it. And so that's why I'm like, okay, there's enough people in my circle that are vocal about their involvement that I feel like I can talk about it on my channel. I mentioned Rosario at the jump. Healing Vision, who's watching right now, saw her comment on a video. I know that Onion Nader follows Perth on Instagram, and so does Mason. Like, there's so many people who are in my circle who talk about it in one way or another or have involvement peripherally, that I'm like, okay, I can talk about this here. I feel like there's an audience. I feel like there's contributors here. So that's the reason why I'm putting it out there. But yeah, it's a new thing, and I'm excited, and I will be spending more time on it. I've already read like 3 or 4 Tin Can fanfics, and they were lovely, and I liked them a lot. The writing quality is not as high as what I expect when I'm reading like a K-pop fanfic, but that's because the community for writing fan fiction on places like AO3 is not as strong. Like the community probably for writing fan fiction based on boys love series are probably stronger on a different platform. I would say that. Not that it's weak, because like these people have like some of them have like million follower Instagram pages, but just more like you take somebody in K-pop who's got maybe 4 or 5 million followers, and then on Twitter they have the same thing. Of course, you're going to have a wider audience writing for them, so you are going to see an uptick in quality. But the stories I did read were very cute. Like, even if the writing quality wasn't like super stellar, it had cute tropes. I liked them. They were nice. I like. So yeah, I'm getting in it. I'm getting in it, and hopefully, outside of me giving kind of a rundown of how I felt about LBC, I won't talk about it as much in the future when I'm talking about things, because like I said, it's the first one, so that's why I'm talking about it so much, because it's the first one I've completed. But like, the first K-drama I completed is Coffee Prince, and I talk about it here and there, but I don't talk about it all the time. I really just use it as a base for saying why it is I love Gong Yu, because Gong Yu is perfect. Speaking of which, congratulations, Gong Yu. The new movie he's in, which I cannot remember the name, it's like a female's name and then the number 82, the year that she was born. Apparently, it is #1 in the box office in Korea, which is really important for a lot of different reasons. It's really important because is based on a book which is considered a feminist book in Korea, and there were a lot of controversies around the book. Irene from Red Velvet was seen reading the book, and a lot of male fans hated the fact that she read the book. Like, it was that controversial. And when people were talking about who was going to be cast in the movie coming out, Suzy, who's on the same acting management company as actors from the movie, tweeted out her support or put her support on Instagram, and people were basically telling her, shut up, don't talk about feminist things. Like, it's been really bad. So to see that the movie is doing so well really makes me happy, because it's showing that the haters can't silence the people who want the education or who want to see themselves represented in media and have their perspective being represented. So I'm very, very happy for that. And I'm proud of Gong Yu, man. I'm so proud of him. Like, I don't normally stand an actor for their social involvement. Mostly I like them because I like the way that they act or the projects they're involved in. Gong Yu is that happy exception in that I like it all, basically. Like, Gong Yu for me started out as kind of like a cheesecakey, heartthrobby guy. Like, I loved him in Coffee Prince, thought he was perfect. I watched him in Big, thought he was perfect, even though the drama had elements that were kind of ew. I loved him in Train to Busan. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I cried real tears. And then I watched him in Goblin, and even though Goblin also has some problematic aspects, Gong Yu was Gong Yu-ing the hell out of that role, and he is just lovable. But then, like, he does other movies. Like, he did a movie about foster children that were being abused by their caretakers. He's doing this movie, which is a very feminist movie and has caused people to doubt whether he'll be able to maintain his popularity because of how much hate it's getting. He does projects that sometimes aren't big money projects, but just because he finds them to be interesting. And I really respect him for that. Like, Train to Busan, as much as it's like a horror zombie fic, it's also a statement about consumerism and about how the wealthy devour the poor. And, what happens if that turned? What if you couldn't buy your way out of into safety, and about how the breakdown of society makes it to where the things that we used to consider valuable and important and worth fighting for, they lose themselves to the horde. And so, I mean, it's a really, there's a lot of statements in Train to Busan outside of just the vampires are coming and we need to get the fuck out of here. So yeah, I really admire Gong Yu. I really do. I wish he would quit smoking. And I don't say that because like, ew, smoking gross. More like I don't want him to have the health effects of long-term smoking because I like him so much. And unfortunately, because of big tobacco and their evilness, cigarette smoking is considered a mark of masculinity in a lot of Asian countries. And so they tend to have higher levels of tobacco usage than you would see in America and Europe. So it's not an atypical thing for him to be doing. I mean, even Taman smoked, but I think he quit. He may have quit. I hope he quit. I know he was trying to vape so he could quit, but I don't know if he's quit all the way. But I wish that he would stop smoking just for his health. I want him to be around for a long time because I have a feeling that his career is a career that's going to inspire other actors to make very similar moves coming into the game, and it can change the way a lot of people do a lot of things in Korea. Also, I read a story recently in the news that I feel like is going to cause some big issues in Korea, even though it really happened in the United States, but the implication is probably going to be pretty far reaching. I think. I don't know. We'll see. So there was a guy who, I want to say it's Harvard. I think it's Harvard. Correct me if I'm wrong. You may have read this on Twitter. It was in the news recently. There was a guy who was dating a girl who was a South Korean national. Like, she's from South Korea and came over to the United States to go to school. They had been dating for a while. Boston College. Thank you. I knew it had to do with Boston. Boston College. Thank you. This guy went to Boston College, and on the day of his graduation, he killed himself. I think he jumped from like the 11th floor of a parking garage. Like, basically, he committed suicide. Well, the police now would like to arrest his fiance. And the reason they want to arrest his fiance is because she sent him literally tens of thousands of text messages basically telling him, you are worthless, you are terrible, you are shit, you deserve to die, you're the scum of the earth, everything is terrible because you exist. And apparently she was present in the parking garage when he died. Now, they're not saying that she pushed him. Like, that's not what the police are saying. But they're basically saying that her abuse of this man pushed him to the point that he felt like this was his only escape. And then she flew home immediately after this happened. Like, she flew back to South Korea, which is where she is right now. And because of the circumstance, I can't help but think that she might be a chaebol. Like, she may be an heir to like one of the bigger companies, or definitely a wealthier person in Korea. So I don't know extradition wise what's going to happen with that. But a lot of the pushback to the Me Too movement in South Korea is men saying, well, what about these rotten women? And so as women have been trying to insert conversations about, fairness and equality and allowing a woman to have access to things similar to men have been pushing back with the idea that women are lazy, or that they're entitled, or that women are just as abusive as the men that they claim are abusive. And so a story like this, I can absolutely see it being twisted to be like, and this is an example of the rotten women that we're talking about. You guys talk about feminism, but what about when a woman drives a man to kill himself? Like, I can definitely see that narrative being espoused by people who are against the feminist movement in Korea. And I hate that. I hate that because it's going to be used as a tool when really we need to talk about this isn't a matter of feminism. This is a matter of domestic abuse, and how we don't talk enough about domestic abuse from women to men. Or domestic abuse between same-sex partners does not get talked about enough. You know, when people think of domestic abuse, they think of the woman with the black eye holding the baby and crying because Big Chuck just knocked her a solid. When domestic abuse takes on so many other forms, the term being domestic in the home, and then abuse being basically the opposite of care. So domestic abuse could be physical abuse. Domestic abuse could be verbal. It could be emotional. Domestic abuse could be the withholding of resources. It could be, you know, trying to convince somebody that they don't deserve as much equity in a relationship. And, you know, that kind of mental beating that you take with somebody who wants to dominate you. And when it comes to same sex partners, a lot of times men who are abused by other men don't want to go to the police because already they're worried if the police are going to be sympathetic since they are in same sex relationships. But also, they're like, well, you're a man. Why didn't you fight back? And sometimes that's not easy to do. And then you have a relationship like this where this man was being terrorized by this woman, and to the point that he felt like the only way I can escape this is to end it all. On the day of his graduation, knowing his parents are waiting for him, this is what happens. And I'm sure he told his friends, in order for the police to know to check the text messages, I'm sure he told people close to him, this woman I'm involved with is crazy. This woman I'm involved with is vicious. This woman I'm involved with, I can't extricate myself from her clutches. And I'm suffering emotionally because of it. And the people around him probably listened to him. They probably did what they could or what they thought they could to help him without realizing how close to the edge he was. But if he had gone to the police and like, here's all these text messages, help me out, he might have felt like they'd have looked at him and said, you big baby, these are just text messages. And he wouldn't have been taken seriously. And we need to stop our kind of bias that because you have a certain physical presence, or because you hold a certain gender, or because you have a certain financial status, that you are able to overcome issues of violence and abuse. Because that's not always true. You know, sometimes you may be a non-violent person, and that's the reason why if somebody hits you or treats you poorly, you don't fight back because you're non-violent. And maybe the only thing that would ever get you to fight back is the idea that it's either you or me, one of us is going to die tonight. And I hate that that might be what it would come to for someone, but I absolutely could see that being what it could come to. And so that's the reason why I say, like, you know, I can see this whole situation getting turned around into it being about these rotten women rather than it being about domestic abuse and how we need to quit stereotyping it as being one thing when it can be many, many things. You know, like, I haven't finished it yet, but I've had it forever and I need to go ahead and finish it. I'm reading a South Korean book right now that's been translated, and the book is called The Vegetarian. And it is a book about a lady who is a wife, and she is I think she's the oldest daughter in a household.
A mother of mine,
Yes.
school is canceled tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Good for you. I'm sure I have to work.
Well, I don't have to go to school.
Well, good for you. Sorry, this one over here is trying to distract me. Back to what I was saying. The Vegetarian is a book about a lady who finds herself becoming vegetarian. Yeah. Go back to your room if you're not gonna let me talk.
I'm gonna let you talk.
I'm just saying, like, I'm talking about something that's serious. It's not like, yeah, you're laughing, but I just got through talking about domestic violence, and you're over there giggling.
Sorry.
Read the room.
The room is empty.
The room is dark.
There's a light right there.
The room is dark. I'm sorry, y'all. So the woman becomes a vegetarian, but she becomes a vegetarian slowly and concernedly. It starts with like, I just don't want to eat this kind of meat. Then it becomes, I don't want to eat that kind of thing. And slowly she is starving herself. So it wasn't just meat. It became like there's all these other things that I don't want to eat. And she slowly starts to like waste away until she ends up dying. And this is not me giving you a spoiler, like they put it on the jacket of the book. Because the book tends to show you the different perspectives of the people in her life before she got to that point and the things that they did and how they reacted to her changes. But in the book, it examines her relationship with all of the people in her life and how the role she had in life kind of doomed her to this, wasting away because she never really had her own presence. So, like, the guy who marries her, he married her because she wasn't very attractive. Literally, he's like, I don't want a wife that's too attractive who makes me feel like I'm less of a man because she's so beautiful. But I didn't want a woman who was ugly that my friends would make fun of me because she's unattractive. I just needed somebody who was right there in the middle. So already she's in a marriage where she was chosen for a role she could play in that man's life rather than as a romantic partner who he wanted because he saw something in her that was specifically her and was of value to him because it was specifically her instead of her just fitting a type. Then they talk about her relationship with her family and how her family has certain things that they expect her to do. How her father expects her to act as both a daughter and as a female. How her mother expects her to act as both a daughter and a female. How her brother expects her to act as both a daughter and a female. And how no one really identifies her voice until she starts to lose her voice in her kind of wasting away. And like I said, I need to finish the book because it was super interesting. I bought it at a time when I didn't have time to read things that were super heavy. So I need to get back into it. But, it's one of those things where the domestic abuse isn't always you're hitting me or you're kicking me or you're pushing me down the stairs. Sometimes the abuse is you are not letting me breathe. Sometimes literally the abuse is I can't breathe. You know, you talk to me like I'm not as human as you are. You belittle me in front of company as if I don't deserve the same amount of respect you would give a stranger. You withhold resources from me because you don't believe I am entitled to make my own decision about resources, that everything has to come through you. You've made your opinion about who I am and what I'm allowed to be. And so if I want to be anything other than that, I can't be heard. Now, I'm not saying that meets the whole definition of abuse, but that's where abuse starts. It starts with, withholding. It starts with power dynamics. It starts with, trying to confine someone to a box. And I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting that we would talk about one kind of subset of society beginning with like the whole boys love thing and then end up on a totally opposite spectrum, like the serious real life struggles of a woman. But that's where we are. That's where we are in society. And I think it's good to talk about that because once you hear about how women in South Korea are fighting just to be able to exist fairly, it makes you look at K-pop totally different. It really, really does. Like, one of the things that caused Hyuna to get a lot of hate in Korea is the fact that Hyuna's not shy about showing off her body. If she wants to show off her behind, if she wants to show off her stomach, if she wants to show off her bra, she does that. And she doesn't ask for anybody's permission. She just does what she does. And it's funny to me because like Hyuna, one of her famous things in her shows is that she'll pull off her shirt and she'll just be dancing like pants in a bra. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, look at her. But Jay Park probably has the same breast size as Sienna. And I cannot tell you how many times he has pulled off his shirt and body rolled and humped the floor and everything else in his set. And people are like, oh my gosh, he's so sexy. Whereas Sienna is like, oh, she's so disgusting. She's so nasty. She's so raunchy. You know, and when you look at dances, you'll have guys fully dressed in suits, body rolling and, doing all this stuff and, implying crotch grabbing and implying that they're doing sexual things. And I'm really upset that they're supposed to have on those safety shorts, and I can see their safety shorts during their performance. Even though they're not like hip thrusting or doing anything nasty, they're told by their companies, go out there in these short skirts. So of course, you might see a slip of the safety shorts. That's not their fault. They didn't pick these costumes. But they're all of a sudden too raunchy and too vulgar. Whereas these guys who are allowed to be dressed from neck to toe are out there giving you boner thrust. And they're like, oh my gosh, they're such talented dancers. I cannot tell you how many times on the Twitter I have seen fan cams of Kai dancing. Kai from EXO, totally, out here making love to the air. And people are like, and that's the reason why he's the best dancer in K-pop. And I'm like, there was a form of dancing here, sure. I agree with that point. It's just... Like Charlotte 5 said, she said, double standard, easily seen through what choreo KBS has banned. It's always women being sexy that gets banned, and men can do almost anything. For real. Like, remind me, was it History who did I Might Die? And it was like fucking shirts off, humping the ground, squeezing their titties, like they were going off. They were going off. And everybody like that I'm friends and fans with, they were like, did you see this? Oh my gosh. That was allowable. But like little things, like Rainbow, I think, had like a dance that got banned. It wasn't even that bad. And they had on costumes and it wasn't that bad. But like, yeah, it's always the girls. Whereas the guys can literally impregnate the air and no one says a thing about it when like there's all these air babies floating around us that aren't being taken care of by their dads. No one's paying child support. It's a mess. So yeah, that's a thing. And we need to always keep that in mind. As much as we want to enjoy all the funds, we need to always keep it in mind that the shit ain't fair. So anyway, I'm gonna get off. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys. Also, I said I was going to get off, but I have one last thing I need to say. So, this is a tangent all of my own, but I need to say this because recently it has become a problem for me. And I just want you guys to understand it because I feel like of all of the different audiences that might be receptive, you guys might be the most. I get in arguments with people sometimes online. Not all the time, but sometimes. And I try to keep it cool. I try to keep it classy online. I really, really do. But sometimes when I get in arguments with people, if those people know my age or my ethnicity, my arguments are tainted by what they know of me. So if I have an argument with you and I'm telling you what I don't like about a situation, it can be tainted by the stereotype of an angry black woman rather than a discussion between. That can be very upsetting to me because it oftentimes defines who's right or who's wrong in an argument, or it frames the argument as the angry black bully versus the whoever victim. And I'm 40 years old. I've never hidden my age when it comes to any of my platforms. I'm 40 years old. So I'm not ashamed of my age. I'm obviously black. I'm not ashamed of my ethnicity. I am a cis female. So, it is what it is. I've gone through my life being the big black bully. And I've been the big black bully since literally kindergarten when I was a child. Because I've always been one of the tallest children in my class. And I've always had people in my life approach me with a certain amount of bias, even as a child, as a 5-year-old. Even as a 5-year-old, I've had people approach me with bias. And you'd think that over the years, I would get over it. That over the years, I would be like, that's just a thing. I can overcome it. It'll be fine. I remember being in the 2nd grade and more dating myself. I was in 2nd grade and I went to a Cyndi Lauper concert. And my sister and I were given posters by our mom as gifts for going to this concert. She's like, you can buy some merch. And so I bought a poster and my sister bought a poster. The poster I had was the poster with all of the album covers. And the poster my sister had was Cyndi Lauper posed as Venus de Milo on a shell, like that famous Venus de Milo painting. And I had show and tell at school. And I remember looking at that poster and thinking, wow, my sister's poster is so much cooler than mine. I would like to bring it to school for show and tell. So I asked my sister if I could bring her poster to show and tell. I brought her poster with me. I showed it to my classroom, and my teacher sent me directly to the principal's office. And I didn't know why. I was in the 2nd grade. So at this point, let's see, kindergarten, 5, 6, 7. I was 7 years old. I had no idea why I was going to the principal's office. I didn't think I did anything wrong. I thought I had a cool show and tell because I was talking about the fact that I went to a concert. And look what I got at the concert. My parents were called to the school, and I was told that the reason why my parents were called to the school, the reason why I was in the principal's office, is because I had shown a pornographic image to my classmates, and my parents needed to be alerted to my behavior. And I am 40 years old. This happened when I was 7 years old, so it's been over 30 years. I have never forgotten the way I felt in that moment. I have never forgotten the shame that I felt. I never forgot the feeling of hatred that I felt from my teacher, because I felt like my teacher, again, looked at me as not a 7-year-old child in her class, but as a sexual being, somebody who would be cognizant even of what pornography is, somebody who has the forethought and the insight to try to corrupt other children, that maybe I wasn't also a child as well. And that has stuck with me for years. And it stuck with me going to doctors when I was a teenager and I was dealing with, really intense menstrual symptoms, and doctors treating me like I was a grown woman when I was a 12-year-old. I remember feeling like I wasn't entitled to childhood, trying to find clothes. And, I've been as tall as I am now. I'm 5'9.5". I've been this height since I was 12 years old. When I was 12 years old, I was not treated like a 12-year-old. And again, like I said, it's because I am a black female. And black females aren't really allowed to be children. We're kind of seen as adults right off the bat. Well, it wasn't until I started to fight back, because I was so used to trying to make nice, because grew up in the South, and my parents, if nothing else, you were going to have manners. I grew up in the South in the 80s and 90s, and I tried to be nice. When people would say negative shit to me, I tried to be nice. I literally had somebody in high school in an argument tell me, go back to Africa, which, where in Africa would I go back to? Like, real talk. Like, if I told you to go back to Europe, you might would know where to go, but like, really, where would I go? This is before DNA tests were really popular, by the way. I'd go back to Cameroon. I would try not to be the one to start things because I already knew there was a predisposition in people's minds who weren't actually even people of color. There was a predisposition in their mind that I was a certain kind of person, and because I'm a certain kind of person, I'm not to be believed, or there's a tainted opinion about the things that I say because of who's saying it, and I'd gotten used to that. But then once I started to say I don't want to make nice anymore, I'm going to stand up for myself because I don't deserve the treatment I'm getting. Once I started to do that, all of a sudden I fit a new stereotype, still related to my color and my gender, the angry black woman. The neck rolling, finger waving, oh no, you didn't, that person became the stereotype whenever I asked for things to be fair and things that I deserved and things that I don't think other women would be chastised for. I got the angry black woman stereotype when I would go to my daughter's school and complain about the bullying. I would get the angry black woman stereotype when I would talk harshly to a teacher who wasn't giving my child the education she deserved. I would get the angry black woman stereotype when I would go to doctors and demand that they give me real solutions to problems that my infant was experiencing. And it's stuff that you guys probably can't relate to, but like when Stephanie was really little, she was born premature, and she had lots and lots of sinus infections. Later on, she had to get her sinuses taken out. And because of the infections, she would be given antibiotics on a fairly regular basis. And it wasn't until later that I realized that she was allergic to penicillin. But I would tell the doctor about how after she would finish a round of antibiotics, she would have the worst diaper rash ever. And when I say bad diaper rash, like she would literally be bleeding in her diaper. And I told the doctor, I need you to do something because she can't go to the daycare when she's like this. She is in pain every time I try to change her diaper. She's uncomfortable. I'm worried about infection because it's her diaper area and I don't want, feces and stuff to get into these bleeding parts. And the doctor literally told me to put antibacterial gel on the area. That's it. So I told the doctor, this is more than Bactrim can solve. I need something for real here because what's happening here is not normal. And it wasn't until I got on the internet, thank God for Google, that I heard about infant yeast infections and that baby girls, as a reaction to taking antibiotics, can sometimes get yeast infections, but they present differently in little girls than they do in women. And so they had like these homemade recipes that you could use using different drugstore things to make a salve that would clear that up in a matter of days. And that's what I started using on my daughter. But when I would complain to the doctor that I needed something more, instead of hearing that antibacterial gel was not effective, they thought I was pushing for extra medicine for my child, or that I had Munchausen by proxy because I'm trying to make it a bigger deal than it is. And those kind of biases I experience on a much more regular basis than I think I should be, and it hurts. And sometimes I forget about it. I forget about the bias that people have against me. And then something happened over the weekend that reminded me that even amongst friendship groups, well, I won't say friendship groups, even amongst groups of acquaintances, it's never forgotten. And it really hurt me because it was during a discussion I was having with decline. Sorry, someone was trying to call me. It was during a discussion I was trying to have with someone that I know because we talk about K-pop stuff together. And they said something that really rubbed me the wrong way. And I left a comment to kind of clarify my particular viewpoint. And it wasn't an insulting comment. I didn't call this person names or do anything else. Like, I was just like, I see where you're coming from, but let me tell you, this is how I view the situation. Literally on the nose. Promise you. And I receive a DM from somebody else saying, I want to talk to you privately because you left this public comment and it seems like there's a lot of anger and vitriol towards the person that you were commenting with. Now, like I said, my comment wasn't an angry comment. It really was, I would like to let you know my point of view and why I feel like where you're coming from doesn't actually address the specific thing. And because I'm very visible online, there's no doubt who you're talking to when you're talking to me. I was the bully. And I was so angry. And I'm going through the 5 stages right now because anger turns to sadness, turns to grief, turns to acceptance, turns to, all this stuff. But I was so angry because I was dealing with individuals that I felt knew me. Not knew me like, we're close, but knew me in terms of like, I've been a presence with them for a while, so we're not strangers necessarily in terms of knowing who the other is. And these are people that I felt were particularly open-minded people, so I didn't think that that stereotype would come into play. But that's how I felt, being called to the carpet as a bully when I'm trying to have a conversation. And I know that for like those of you watching, this whole last 20 minutes, you're like, what the hell is she talking about? Why am I even watching this? But I say that because I know that most of the people who watch me come from different backgrounds than I come from. There's a lot of, I will give it to you, I'll give it to the room. A lot of Black women watch my channel, which I'm so proud of because I feel like we are very underrepresented when it comes to K-pop. I think the only group less represented than us are probably like Native American and like like the continental African fans, but and maybe like Black men. And so, I know that there's a lot of people who watch my channel who fall outside of African American female. But there are a few people who fall into that. And I feel like they can relate to that struggle of just wanting to be able to be treated neutrally in a conversation, to not have to contend with, if I'm too loud about my opinion, all of a sudden I become this person, or if I'm too aggressive in the way I respond, it's verification of a stereotype. And because, like I said, there are different people that watch my channel who might be of other backgrounds, I wanted to talk to you because you may be friends with a Black woman like me, or a Black girl, or, Black people in general. And I really want you to take a little time to evaluate your interactions with us. Because, yeah, I was really angry when the interaction first happened. But then as I evaluated my anger and I let myself sleep on it, my follow-up to that was sadness, because you feel like you've jumped a barrier or you've jumped a hurdle with people, and then all of a sudden you're put right back to square one stereotyping, and it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. It reminds me of The Wiz in the song that Michael Jackson sang on The Wiz, like, You can't win, you can't break even, and you can't get out of the game. Like, you can't win. That's what it feels like. It feels like you can't win, you know. And I know that it's an invisible prejudice. It's not overt racism. The people who have some of these feelings of like stereotyping, they're not bad people. They're not what you would think of as racist people. It's just really easy for them to see a black face and to think that must be the aggressor. It's really easy for them to read a passionate response from a black person and see them as an agitator instead of seeing like maybe there's some pain there or maybe there's some trauma there and maybe you hit a sore spot and they're reacting to that pain instead of seeing it as a reaction to pain or as a reaction to a sensitive issue. Instead it's, oh, here comes another mad black woman. Have you ever wondered what I'm mad about? If you really think I'm legit that mad, at the very minimum, if you think that's what it is, do you understand what I'm mad about? Do you see it? Do you hear it? Can you feel it? Am I just out here mad for no reason? What am I mad about? Am I mad because of how many black men are locked up in the prison industrial complex? Am I mad because of racism in the classroom? Am I mad because of backwards opinions about LGBT communities in the black community and outward? Am I mad about income inequality? Am I mad about, the fact that as a black woman, I feel like one of the most undesirable women on the face of the planet because whenever you see a lot of high power celebrity black men, they tend to have non-black partners. When all of these things are put down where they are, wouldn't you be mad too if you felt like nobody loved you, everyone discounts your opinion, and they expect you to embrace struggle? So, if you just want to know why I'm generically mad, there are the generic reasons why I'm mad. But if you want to know why I'm specifically mad, then listen to what I'm saying. If I'm telling you, this is the topic at hand, this is how I feel about the topic at hand, I might have some negative emotion about the topic at hand, take that for what that is. Don't make it about, well, it's the perspective of an angry black woman, because that's not necessarily what it is. Sometimes it's just the perspective of a person who sees a situation and they have a different point of view, and maybe it's a passionate point of view. But it hurt. It wasn't a good feeling. I didn't like it. And that's the reason why I'm sharing it here. And I tried to be as general as possible. I'm sure there are some of you who are going to, be all in these comment streets and whatnot and be looking for the catalyst. Please don't do that. Don't do that, because I'm not trying to bring drama to anybody. I'm not trying to do that. I tried to be as unspecific as possible because, again, like I said, I'm not trying to bring the drama to nobody. I'm not trying to, put together the angry villagers and let's go out and, kill the beast. I'm not doing that kind of stuff. I want to provide a learning experience for anybody who's watching this because, like I said, it's unintentional, but it's so unintentional because it's an idea and a trope and a stereotype that has been around so long that people don't even recognize it for what it is anymore. Honestly, they don't even recognize it for what it is. So think about it. And that's on principle for anything. Not even just when you're dealing with black women. Think about what your frame of mind is towards that person. Think about how you feel about homeless people. Think about how you feel about people that suffer with mental illness. Think about how you feel about Asian people, good or bad. A lot of us who listen to K-pop and participate in Japanese anime culture or any other Asian art culture, and enjoy it for entertainment purposes, we might think that all Asian people are this. They're all this happy monolith, or they're all this smart monolith, or they're all this kawaii thing, or they're all this K-poppy thing, Hallyu, or they're all this, ancient secrets, Zen and Kung Fu master thing. And if that's what you think, then already you need to stop. Because you're saying that a spectrum of humanity is this. So, yeah, maybe spend a little bit more time. All of us can, because I know I do it too. All of us can spend a bit more time actively listening to the things that people tell us, and trying to eliminate some of that background noise attached with the messenger, and maybe hear it for what it is. What are you really trying to say to me? What are you really asking of me? What are you truly saying and wanting to communicate? What are you feeling? How can I be of assistance? What can I do to make this better? What can I do to make it right? What can I do to let you know that you've actively been heard? So that's where I'm at. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you. I literally did a whole half an hour after I said, I'm going to go, guys. But I really am going to go this time. I'm serious. But thank you for watching, because, this is what it is, and it's all I can do. I pray at the end of the day that all of you, through our conversations, learn something, not just about maybe K-pop or whatever else. You'll learn something about life, and you'll be able to take that and use it beyond the K-pop platform. And it'll let you learn a lesson that I took years to learn. Because kids nowadays are so much smarter than we were. They have so much more access to emotional tools than we had when I was younger. You're going to be so much better than I could ever be. And if I can help you along the way by helping you maybe avoid some of the pitfalls that I've experienced, that's what I want to do for you. That's what I hope to do. And I just said I was going to leave, but I cannot end this live without hoping for the best for Woojin from Stray Kids. I don't know what happened there. I can't even talk about it because I literally don't know what happened there. The statement that came out of JYP was so odd that it literally scared me when I read it. And I'm not a stay. I don't follow Stray Kids like that. But when I read the statement, I remember thinking to myself, oh no, oh no. Because it read like something bad happened and no one wants to talk about it, and this was the best that they could do. That's what it read like to me, especially because immediately after the statement, they took his picture off of the website, and it's just like, okay, come on. And they're like, we're going to re-record everything, we're going to reshoot everything. All the projects that were in the works are all on hold while we redo this whole thing. That's a huge reaction. And for a company to spend that kind of money to redo everything, I don't know what's going on, but my thoughts and my prayers are with the stays, because y'all are going through it, and I wish the best for you. This is tough times. So I wish you the best, and keep an open mind and an open heart, and whatever happens in the coming weeks, hopefully it'll turn out to be just, I don't want to do the idol shit no more. I just want to go home. And if that's the case, Godspeed. But if it turns out to be something else, I wish you the absolute best of luck. And we'll play this one by ear, guys. We'll play this one by ear. All right. Thank you so much, guys. It's been fun. I'll talk with you later. Bye.